Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining this recorded webinar. I'm Andy Fernandez, Product Marketing Manager here at Zerto. And I'm joined by Lea Kaminski, who is our Product Manager who owns Zerto Analytics itself. But before we get started, I wanted to go over just with some main housekeeping items. If you guys have any specific questions during the presentation, please post them to the chat and our team will answer them as soon as possible. If we have some time, we're going to read some of the key questions towards the end and ensure all of your questions are answered. But really, let's begin with the topic at hand. And the title of this webinar is Zerto Analytics, Optimize and Forecast Your IT Infrastructure Needs with Resource Planning. Now, the focus of this webinar is Zerto Analytics, but I do want to cover for some of the folks who may not be completely familiar with Zerto, just really what we're about and what the IT resilience platform is. Now, as many of you are aware, Zerto began as a disaster recovery solution via its bread and butter, which is hypervisor-based replication. Now, as that market evolved, so did Zerto, then releasing a DR or DRaaS, Disaster Recovery as a Service offering, and continuing to enhance its cloud service and mobility. Now, as of last year, we introduced the IT Resilience Platform, which is a single platform designed to simplify your IT solutions with one simple, single, and scalable platform. Now, this year, not too long ago, actually, we introduced the idea or the concept of converged DR and backup into the IT Resilience Platform, further delivering on this journey for organizations to always remain on and proactive. Now, our goal is to continue delivering on those IT resilience needs within one single, simple platform. Now, from a use case perspective, what does this mean? What does the platform actually solve for and consist of today? Well, that's where it comes in as a converged solution that replaces multiple products and tools. The difference between Zerto IT Resilience Platform and other self-proclaimed platforms is that with Zerto, every tool and capability is under one SKU, one transactions. That means that as a customer of Zerto and as a user of the IT Resilience Platform, you gain access to converged DR and backup, which means we're giving you these DVR-like capabilities to rewind back and resume from any point in time to protect against logical and hardware failures, whether that's human errors, natural disasters, or even very specific attacks such as ransomware. Now, recovery can be hyper-granular and allows you to resume from just seconds ago to days, months, and years, really redefining what it means to deliver availability and not doing so with the pitfalls of traditional legacy backup. Now, when we refer to multi-cloud, hybrid cloud mobility, what do we mean by this? Well, it means that with Zerto, you're protected as you go to, from, and between clouds without any vendor lock-in. This means complete freedom to choose both your hardware and your cloud vendor. This includes a top-tier migration capability to move across on-premises hypervisor environments and/or clouds without any specific vendor lock-in, storage, or hardware. But this also includes orchestration and automation. Well, it's built into the platform because, as we all know, in order to innovate and make these processes and resources more efficient and cost-effective, you require the ability to automate and simplify both the tools and processes which you use. And finally, which is our topic of today, Zerto Analytics, which provides complete visibility across multi-site, multi-cloud environments to ensure that your SLAs and performance requirements are met and aware. Now, our platform is based on a foundation of continuous data protection, ensuring absolutely no downtime or data loss. It's really at the core of enabling IT resilience. It allows you to reduce your resource requirements for managing infrastructure so you can drive new efficiencies across IT and innovate faster, delivering at the speed of business. Now, let's look under the hood a bit of the IT resilience platform so you know exactly what it consists of. Now, the platform, as already mentioned, is based on a foundation of continuous data protection. That is at the core of enabling resilience. Orchestration and automation is built in because you can't modernize and innovate if it's not automated and simple. Analytics and control, providing complete visibility across multi-site, multi-cloud environments. Let's take a specific look at continuous data protection. Now, continuous data replication delivers the best of breed replication with the tightest RTOs and RPOs to ensure that when something happens, recovery is quick, or when proactive changes like migrations are done, it's possible to just rewind if there is a change to the commit. But we also have our innovative journal-based recovery, which allows you to rewind to any specific point in time with protection against logical failures, not just disasters. Recovery is granular and can be from seconds ago, not just a specific backup window or snapshot that can be 4 hours or a day too late and you lose all that critical data. But recovery can be from a site, application, VMs, or even specific individual files. It's about granular recovery. But recovery is not just about data. It's about protecting your key business services. The IT Resilience Platform uses application consistency groups called VPGs, or what we like to refer to as virtual protection groups. Now, these VPGs enable customers to protect applications with all of their dependencies. They allow you to pre-configure recovery flows for fast recovery without any manual intervention. Now, the platform also addresses your needs for long-term retention of data and applications. And as we transition to orchestration and automation within the platform, it's built to enable faster management of workloads at scale with minimal touch points to allow IT or yourself to shift these resources to focus on innovation and implementing services that help the business run more efficiently. This includes supporting your multi-cloud and hybrid cloud strategy, platforms such as Microsoft Azure, IBM Cloud, AWS, and over 350 cloud service providers. From migrations to consolidations, you can confidently move your workloads and data across heterogeneous environments. Now, when we refer to it as non-disruptive, what do we mean? Well, we actually mean everything, and that includes testing and compliance, which is a critical component to the resilient infrastructure. And in conclusion to this, looking under the hood, the Zerto IT Resilience Platform goes beyond disaster recovery, allowing you to make your business more efficient by converging all the use cases that you've seen. But now let's cover a specific point, right? What we're here for today. And that's for Zerto Analytics, which is our focus. And I want to show you the specific value first of ZA as a whole, or Zerto Analytics as a whole, before we move into this very exciting capability known as a resource planner. Now, a really valuable aspect of Zerto Analytics, as we already covered, is that it's built into the platform. No additional costs or SKUs. We'll see many vendors who will promote a platform, and in order to gain visibility metrics or their specific console for visibility, you have to make an additional purchase or you have to have a separate licensing model. And we really want to avoid doing that because we know that delivering complete visibility is crucial and it should be built into the product and the platform. Now, another really unique aspect of Zerto Analytics is it's actually available via browser, meaning that you can access your crucial data and gain visibility into your data center, including your phone via the mobile app. And one of my favorite parts about Zerto Analytics is that it's SaaS delivered, meaning we're continuously releasing updates, new features and capabilities, as you'll see today. And this agile feature allows us to deliver value and new insights several times a year instead of waiting for full platform releases and updates. Now, when we look at Zerto Analytics, what are some of the specific insights that it delivers? Well, I want you to think of Zerto Analytics as your complete source or your single pane of glass for both updates on the status of your environment and the resources used. There are so many specific use cases and solved for here, but at the end of the day, it's about understanding exactly what is going on at any specific moment within your protection scope for all sites and workloads. Whether you're evaluating your standing within compliance, your use of infrastructure resources, your performance, your SLAs, or even your entire network, Zerto Analytics delivers this and updates them instantaneously. And as you know, it's available to you at any moment in time. Now, the real value in the live analysis is that it provides you complete visibility for on-premises environments, public cloud, and for your service providers as well. And there's also the V4 service providers. This allows whether you're an end user or you're a service provider to monitor the entire environment from anywhere, really, giving a true single pane of glass for your entire IT environment. But let's look at some of the key specific reports and insights, especially the ones that have come in recent updates that really demonstrate the value of Zerto Analytics. You now have a 90-day network analysis, and this is giving you complete visibility of your throughput, traffic, IOPS, and more. This includes visibility into your hybrid cloud site, and it's not just solely based on your on-premises VMs. You also have access to the 90-day journal analysis, gaining insights into your recovery depth versus your actual SLAs, which you can also analyze historical trends, really look at what's happening in the past, determining your usage and performance, and what changes you can optimize in the future. You can even visualize all of your sites in one place with what we call the single topology view. And this is actually on the home page. This helps identify sites that require remote protection. You can visualize and address network issues and even identify areas of concerns within your cloud environment, just really giving you an important holistic view of all of your sites within one specific place. And from a performance perspective, you have reports such as the 90-day RPO analysis. And you can use this to spot anomalies and trends, see if you're meeting your SLAs, and if you're not, what is the root cause and what you can do to solve for that. And as we've seen with some of the granular reporting, Zerto Analytics is crucial to deliver the insights you need to evaluate those performance standards and if you're meeting them or not. You can dive deep into your infrastructure and solve for operational inefficiencies or try to understand why you're not meeting this. But also, just as important as performance, it's about consumption, costs, and resources. Are you being able to scale your environment correctly as your data growth continues, as your sites continue, whether you're looking at mergers and acquisitions or acquiring additional remote sites? You need to be able to understand what resources are required in order to do so, and if your performance is going to suffer. Now, in order to do that, you need complete visibility into your storage and network consumption, not just historically, but also with the present and the future. But we'll get back to that in a bit. One of the things I wanted to highlight here, whether you're eventually going to be a Zerto Analytics user or already are, is the main source where you can find these updates. And that's within the What's New button at the console. If you look at your top right, as we see in the screen, you'll see the What's New. You click the What's New, and you're going to continuously receive all of the updates and an explanation of both how to use it, what use case it's solving for, and where you can find it. Because we are SaaS delivered, we're always going to be releasing new features within the year. And this is absolutely crucial. So anytime you want to know if there's something coming up, obviously we'll have our communications and information around it. But if you just want to see for yourself, click the What's New button and you'll see exactly the date that it was delivered. And you'll be able to really gain continuous new reports, insights, and analysis. And regarding, if you see the third one, you see an update there for Resource Planner. And that's really what we want to talk about today, the value of the Zerto Resource Planner. We've talked about all the historical insights. We've talked about having a complete view of your environment as it stands currently. But let's talk about the future and about planning and the resources available. And that's why I'd like to introduce Lea Kaminski.
Hey, thanks very much, Andy. Really appreciate it. My name's Lea Kaminski. I'm the product manager for Zerto Analytics here. And I got to say, this is an exciting time for our users. We launched Zerto Analytics back in 2017, and through 2018, we were exposing all the data that Andy was talking about, and more importantly, metadata. It's things you can't see anywhere but in Zerto Analytics, and because of that, we want to make sure that's just part of the product. And Andy's gone through a nice summary of helping us understand all the decisions you can make based on the data. In 2019, we've made a big jump, and we've really started layering on analytics, planning capabilities, and more detailed analysis to help you make good decisions about the efficiency of how you are protecting your VMs. And this latest capability, this Zerto Resource Planner, is really exciting because to date, we have given our users insight on all of their protected VMs. We're making a big jump now. We're giving users insight into their unprotected VMs. We're helping them understand how they can take a set of VMs and get those protected in a variety of scenarios. So that's really the big news. And we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. It's a very simple concept, very hard to execute. So our engineers have spent a good chunk of time making what's very difficult very easy for our users. So when I talk about resource planning, it's planning for all of the VMs that you'd like to protect. And there's a couple key pieces of information you need when you're doing that, especially if you're thinking about moving up into the cloud. Historically, as recently as 2 or 3 years ago, the vast majority of our users were dealing with multiple data centers. Everything was on-prem. And the reality is that the cloud is real. We've got a good share of our users now protecting their VMs up in the cloud. So that's one of the key use cases we're focusing on. And what you see over on the left here, the Zerto Cloud Appliance, that's really the way we have a single platform experience in the cloud. It's the same experience as if you're managing and protecting on-prem. So it's just an appliance that wraps the core ZVM for management. So the total recovery disk size, we provide guidance on that. That's pretty easy. Most anybody can get access to the recovery disk size because it's effectively the in-use size. The one that's very difficult is total journal sizing. And Andy touched on it in the architecture diagram. Journal is the thing that allows us to have RPOs on the order of seconds, but scale to the order of thousands, tens of thousands of VMs. And it's because we are not taking snapshots, it's because we're only tracking the changes. So that's how our journal works. The catch with that is some VMs, like a database, have a large number of changes throughout, an hour, whereas other VMs, web service VMs, much lower use, much lower change rate. So what we do with Planner is we look at VMs, even if you're not protecting them yet, and we understand how those VMs are being used, what the IO rates are, and we can accurately predict the journal size that will be required. So that's really powerful. And then finally, WAN requirements. When everything's on-prem, not such an important metric. But as everybody's going to the cloud, we really need to provide the information that's unique to a given cloud, whether it's AWS or Azure. So these are the key bits of information we're going to provide to help you make an informed decision. So if you go to the next slide, Andy. And so it's a single capability with a number of use cases. You could probably imagine these. It's, our existing users just want to protect more. They want to know what they're going to need to do, but also going from a full move from on-prem protection to the cloud. Same kind of questions, just a different platform. And the thing we have found, we launched this back in May, and already we're talking to some of our service providers who are using this to be more trusted advisors to their end users, so that they can get insight into their end users, unprotected VMs, and then provide guidance as to additional services that could be provided and what it will take to protect those VMs. I'm going to dig into these use cases a little bit more. So, the first one is protecting more VMs with Zerto. And one of the things Andy mentioned is that, of course, Zerto Analytics is just included with the Zerto solution. But also, as we release new features, those features just become available in the Zerto Analytics browser. And so in this case, starting in May, when you logged into Zerto Analytics, you had a new tab for planning. And so all of our existing users, whether you're only using 50 VMs or 5,000 VMs under protection, they now could plan for more. Everything was in place, no extra setup. They could just start planning. So that's an important case. And then in the next slide, as I mentioned before, are moving to the cloud, whether it's AWS or Azure or our service providers, being able to identify the storage and networking resources is a really important thing, because of course now there's cost associated with it. It's not, there's always cost associated with it, but it's not your data center cost. Now you're going out to either Microsoft or Amazon, and there are costs associated with it. So it's very important to be able to make some informed decisions, based on the resources you'll need. And then finally, on the next slide, I mentioned this with service providers. What we're hearing already is that service providers will go out either on the advice of their end user or because they know their end user well. They know they have some tier 1 applications that need to be protected, and they'll search select the set of VMs. They'll understand the recommendations, and then they can actually accurately size the resources. We've heard actually for one of our providers in Europe, actually he was able to accurately size the WAN requirements, which is really important for his business because in the region he's working in, it's upwards towards 2 months to roll out a significant new network service. So this way, he could go ahead and place the order, get the service in place as he negotiated with his end user. And so as the service was ready to be deployed, they had a confidence they were just going to drop in Zerto, and they ended up protecting, I don't know, on the order of 450 VMs on that. So very great story, and already people are seeing the value of Planner. So that's kind of an overview of the different use cases. If we go to the next slide. So how does it work? And this is probably the easiest slide you're going to see today. You go to the Open Zerto Analytics, you click the Planning tab, you select the VMs, and then your target platform. How many VMs and where do you want to protect them? And you click Go, and you get to see what the requirements for that group of VMs is. And I think I wanted to give you this very quick overview because we've got a demo in place, and I'm going to step through exactly how quick and easy it is. So we're looking at our dashboard, and if you look, this is a very early stage rollout. Up, you can see in the top left, there's 7 sites, but we're only protecting 6 VMs right now. So very early stage, and the goal here is to decide, what VMs to protect and what's going to be involved in protecting those. So you can see we're going to mouse up by the What's New button there over to the Planning tab. We're going to slide over and click on the Planning tab there, which brings up real simple next step planning window. We're going to click on VM selection because all we need to do is pick a site and pick VMs, and you'll see how we do that. So here's very standard metaphor, very standard paradigm for selecting this. So we're going to look through the different sites. It's a site 3. This has, well, not this one. There we go, site 3. We've got 7 VMs in this site, so we could select one or all of them. We're going to select them all. So now we've said these are the 7 we want to size. And for now, we've selected Azure. We can see the other choices, either on-prem or in the public cloud. So we've selected our VMs, and now we've selected the target, and we're going to hit go. And we're done. It's that easy. So up in the top left, you'll see the ZCAs. That's our appliance for the Azure cloud. And then the bandwidth we require, the total journal size, and then the recovery. So now we know the storage we need, we know the bandwidth, we know how many ZCAs, and in this case it's 1 to 2. So we might want to look to get the number down to 1. So we also provide details on a per VM basis. So if there is one VM that is a large consumer of storage, and it might make more sense to put that in its own separate ZCA, we could quickly jump back and resize that for the other 6. And I'll show you how quick and easy that is in a moment. So you can see here's the details, IOPS, the throughput per VM. And then if you go up to the up towards the top, you can also see that there is, that's where we're reminding you of the source and how many VMs we've selected. In the event you've selected 50, we'll give you the summary there. And then the target, Azure. And then over to the right, you'll see what we've done is we've made an assumption on a 50% compression for our IO, which is a little generous. We could tighten up on that potentially. 24 hours of journal history. And of course, our journal today supports down to minutes and up to a month. So you can have a history in that range. And of course, when you change your history, that's going to impact the size of your journal. And that's where this planner is a very powerful capability. So this is to show you how quickly, if we decided to compare Azure versus vCenter, that's what it took. I went in and changed the target from Azure to vCenter, and of course now I don't need a ZCA because we're working on-prem. And here's the network and storage requirements for on-prem, so I can compare. In this case, it turns out they're very similar consumption of storage, but the key I wanted to point out on this is that one of the main requirements was speed of response, to have like a 1-second response time, because in this planning cycle, you don't want to have to run a report and then look at the report and then make some decisions and go back and run the report again. You just want to quickly characterize what is, what's going to be required for me to protect these VMs and how do I want to protect them. So this is a first major step in helping our users, our new users and our current users, to jump in very quickly and start protecting their whole world. As many of their VMs as they need to. We want to make that very easy for them. And that's about as far as we've gone with this demo. And I think I'm going to stop there. We could go on a bit more, but I wanted to really hit the highlights quickly. And then I think we had one more slide that's about what's next. And I just wanted to give you a heads up on this because we've already mentioned that features come out incrementally, and this is give you a little bit of insight of what's coming over the next couple months just for Zerto Analytics Planner, not the rest of Zerto Analytics. There's more coming, but for Planner, we're really moving into the what we call the what if space. So it's not just about planning, but it's about journal sizing, so that instead of 24 hours, if I have a concern about ransomware and I'd rather have journal protection for up to 2 days instead of 1 day. That's honestly the norm for data centers these days. It's 2-day detection and recovery from ransomware. So we can help with that, and we can make it what we will be doing over the next couple months is making it very easy using this planner to do what if sizing. Similarly, we've rolled out an LTR capability, and we're going to bring in LTR planning. So instead of our journal going from minutes to 30 days with long-term retention, now that Elastic Journal gets us out into years of protection. Well, if you're going to have years of protection, how do you size that? And that's going to be coming into the planner too. That's a really exciting area. And then of course, costing, partnering up with all of our cloud partners, so that once we provide the resources, it's very easy for our users to see what the different cloud options are and what are the costs of those. So we're partnering up, we got great relationships with both Microsoft and Amazon, and that's going to be coming, over the course of the next couple months as well. So that's, those are some of the highlights for what's coming with Planner. In another session, we're going to go into more details and other areas of Zerto Analytics. And at that point, Andy, I'd throw it back to you, and I also am taking a look to see if we have any questions.
Thanks, Lee. I don't see any specific questions at the moment. Does anybody have one that they could just speak to at this moment? Actually, Lee, there is one question that just came in. Let's see. Let me just open the pane so it's a little easier to read.
It says Zerto Analytics. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. It says, Zerto Analytics seems like a great tool. We've used some of it. As a service provider, it's giving me a limited scalability. But as a service provider, does this capability specifically come in within the enterprise licensing?
So I think let me try to get at what they're asking on this one. So I think I get it. So this is included with every Zerto license. So if it's an enterprise license, if it's a CSP license, this is just another capability with Zerto Analytics. So that's kind of the answer to the basic question. And it sounds like this is a current user, a knowledgeable user. And what I'd say also is, as long as you have a customer that you're looking at their vCenter and are protecting some degree of their VMs for that vCenter, and there are other VMs that they're not protecting, you will be able to use Planner on those VMs.
Thanks, Lee. We actually have a few more questions.
All right.
One of them is, and this is by David, how do you link your console with Zerto Analytics?
How do you link your console? If the question is how do you get access to Zerto Analytics, very straightforward. It's one of the, I'll describe it quickly. You can also just Google Zerto Analytics. But first you have to enable Zerto Analytics. You got to go into your ZVM. And there's a checkbox in the setting. This is all described on the web. So you enable Zerto Analytics. It's an opt-in situation. And then after that, there is an analytics tab in your My Zerto login. And you click on analytics, and that's how you get to Zerto Analytics.
Perfect. We actually have a few more, and
okay.
I got one of the questions confused. So, and this is by Ben. Zerto Analytics seems like a great tool, and we've used it some. As a service provider, is there or will there be a method where you can break this out based on Zorgs, only giving someone access to a single Zorg?
That's a great question. It's a common question, and candidly, that exact feature is a little ways off. Now, with a bunch of our providers, what we've done, I think one thing we haven't mentioned on this is we have a REST API that's delivered via Swagger interface. So if you're using Zerto Analytics, you can go up to the top right and open up the APIs. And if you're familiar with Swagger, very easy industry standard. Anything you see in Zerto Analytics is available in an API. So that's one thing to keep in mind for the whole audience. And in the context of this question, and for those that might not be familiar with our service providers, we have this Zorg or Zorg that is a representation of users for each one of our service providers. So for every user, a Zorg, a customer has a unique Zorg. And if you've noticed, we have a Zorg filter in the UI today. So our providers can go in and see the environment only of their users, but that's the provider. So what the question is about is it going to be possible to provide that kind of access to an end user? And that's my initial answer. The short answer is it's a little ways off, but many of our providers are using our APIs to just embed that in their existing portals. So that's where we are today.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Lee. I actually have two more questions by one user as well. And one of them is, how do you actually set up the dashboards and reports?
The answer is what I said maybe about 3 minutes ago, where you go in and you enable it and you're done. So there really is no configuration. Now, what we're adding in usability is the ability to modify. So what you open it up, it's already pre-configured. If you've enabled Zerto Analytics in a particular ZVM, it will just start populating. Zerto Analytics will populate with that ZVM information. What we've added recently is for any one of our tables, those tables, you have the ability to move the order of the columns around. We bring it up in a default that we think is the best, but everybody has their own way to do things. So you can go ahead and move the columns around. The dashboard itself is currently the standard, but we are absolutely looking into customization and an overhaul of being able to have my Zerto dashboard instead of just the standard dashboard. So that's a great question, and it's it's an ongoing usability effort that we try to put out some big improvements every year. Good stuff.
Thanks, Lee.
Yep.
I actually have another one too, and this was briefly mentioned, but it is a good question. It's which version of Zerto do you need for Zerto Analytics?
Great question. The short answer is any supported version of Zerto back to 5.0. One of the things I will point out though is that with every release, there are times where we have to provide additional data from our ZVM up to Zerto Analytics. So for example, with Planner, you must be running 7.0 U1. And that will allow you to get the data you need in Planner. If you've got 2 sites that are at 7.0 U1 and 2 sites that are at 6.5, you're only going to be able to run Planner on the 2 sites that are 7.0 U1.
Perfect. Thank
Hey,
you.
and
And this one
actually,
I'll answer.
Andy,
Go ahead.
one thing I'd toss in, also if you look in the admin guide, and I know it's a huge admin guide for any of our platforms, but the Zerto Analytics section is only about 7 or 8 pages, and in there is a table that spells out what are the features of Zerto Analytics that are available for any given release. So there's a table that gets to the detail of that.
Perfect. Thanks, Lee. Another
Yep.
question, I'll actually answer this one myself. It's really, can I access this on my mobile device? Absolutely. You actually can download the Zerto Analytics apps and begin using it immediately. And I have 2 more questions, actually, Lee. This is good. Will there be, and this is by Ben, will there be an option to allow email reports on a scheduled basis?
It's a little ways out, and there's a number of pieces that are coming together on that. One of the things is we're looking at, boy, this is a longer conversation. So the short answer is that capability I would expect to emerge over the next year to year and a half, because there are a number of other exciting things we're working on. So yes, Zerto Analytics sending emails absolutely is on the radar. And some of the things we're going to be sending in the form of new reports, health reports, that's there. So I think in the this is a plan that's coming together, and there are a number of the pieces of the puzzle of what we send out. So I think I'm going to leave my answer at that it's not coming anytime soon, but the components, better health reports, exec level reports, and then being able to automatically push those out, that's research that's ongoing as we speak. That's work that's getting planned. So good question, though. It's can't do everything at once. We gotta pick our moment. So.
We've seen a few questions just around getting access to the presentation. Once we're done with this, you will receive an email with the recording and the deck as well, just in case you wanted to take a look back, listen again, or just look at the slides as well. Lee, there's another question. We have one more. How is, and it has a follow-up question as well, and this is by Jason. How is access control handled for the analytics site? And the follow-up, how do you associate multiple users?
It's a very easy approach right now, and it's as simple as because this is managed through my Zerto and the whole Cognito interface at Zerto. If you've enabled Zerto Analytics, and if a user gets a My Zerto account, they will also be able to get access to Zerto Analytics. So that's how it works today. We're also looking at a whole RBAC initiative throughout the product, not just Zerto Analytics. I don't see that model, that user access model, changing through the end of this year, candidly. So that's the answer today. If you have a My Zerto account and Zerto Analytics is enabled, then a user gets access. I think that's kind of the answer to both of those questions.
Perfect. Thanks, Lee. I'm going to leave a few seconds just for an additional question from anybody. But after that, what I'll do is I'm actually going to showcase an invitation that we have for you. But I will give a few seconds just in case we hear another specific question. But if not, we'll move on.
Andy, and I'd actually like to take that that little space. I'll buy a little time for you. We in product management, we have great relationships with our users, and one of the things I want to stress is I have been providing some forward-looking guidance. I mean, it's the old standard disclaimer that contents may shift after takeoff. I'm trying to be as candid as I can and as transparent as I can. But the reality is, because we are so agile with Zerto Analytics, if there is some new level of service that's available in Azure, and we need to work on the planner to make sure we can leverage that new capability, we may divert some resources, and so constantly being agile. At this point in time, this is my best guidance to the kind of features that may be coming soon when I've provided timelines. So there's my disclaimer. Did I buy enough time, Andy?
I think you did, but we actually don't have any additional questions. So that brings me to my next call to action. And what it is we're announcing something really exciting to us. Earlier this year, we had our corporate flagship event known as ZertoCon. But what we decided to do is to have a slightly different version of that, really more focused on the industry, less Zerto, and focus really on those key topics that we like to discuss, especially after hearing so much from both our customers and industry analysts as well. And that's why I'd like to introduce the concept of ZertoCon Local. Now, we're going to go on the road for quite a few cities all over the US and Europe as well, and Canada. And we're going to specifically drive things that are relevant to the industry. And it's not about positioning a solution as a vendor, but it's really about tackling major issues, major topics that are relevant in the industry, right? You're going to have a free training, as much education as you like there, any type of questions that you actually may have on the Zerto IT Resilience platform. But you also get a chance to share your story. We want to hear your war stories, your feedback, anything that you've learned, any tips and tricks. There's going to be a forum for that. And it is crucial because at the end of the day, we want to hear from the actual users themselves and prospects as well. But the actual topics themselves is, it's really focused on two things. One on ransomware and the other on cloud. And from a ransomware perspective, it's really looking at what happens, not if, but when you're attacked, and what does your current traditional backup solution look like, or even if it's legacy backup, and why that's not enough to truly recover from ransomware, and what innovative technology is there to actually solve for, and what you can do and best practices to follow to truly recover from ransomware. And the other one's really about cloud pitfalls. We always see presentations about how to succeed in the cloud with a vendor, but this is really about preparation, about understanding what the dangers, the specific areas of going to the cloud are, and how to succeed while doing so. That's going to cover areas such as taking your disaster recovery practice to the cloud, or how to properly migrate, or even taking your DevOps to the cloud. So it's really about how to succeed, from your organizational IT. And to do so with new knowledge and best practices, not really about the solution at all, but it's really about the industry. So we're really excited to see you. If you see our website there, you can just go there and see what the closest city to you is. It's more than 15 locations. So we would love to see you there. We'd love to hear your stories and really just get insights, both what you thought about this presentation and what we're going to present there. If you still have any questions, feel free to email us at the email provided within the webinar, and we'll reach out to you as soon as possible. But if not, we really thank you for your time and are really excited. I hope you get started with Zerto Analytics. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.